Hello everyone. Welcome to She Showed Up. Today we have with us Mrs. Tanu Goel Srivastava, who chose to give up her career in a public sector legal department to become a full-time mother and caregiver. Hi Tanu, welcome to
Hi,
She Showed Up.
hi, Sony. Thank you for inviting me.
So Tanu, I'll come right to the topic. When and how did you realize that your child was neurodivergent and what was your first reaction?
Basically, I saw speech delay in my child, and the normal discussion in public, in private was that it's okay. Children speak late also. But I knew there was something off. So I started taking help from a lot of people, but no one was able to give me any concrete answers at that time. Then by chance, he fell sick. He had a normal cold and cough. So I went to a pediatrician and he was crying there. So I thought it's maybe because he is not in comfort, so he's crying. But that doctor said that does he cry like this often? And I said yes. And he said you must get him assessed for autism spectrum disorder. So that's the first time that I heard these words and I was absolutely shocked. And my first reaction was, but no one in my family has it. What's autism? So I remember this very clearly and it's a memory etched in my mind forever.
Yeah, it must have been heartbreaking when you heard it for the first time.
Yes.
Then you have to accept it.
Yes. So then the entire saga started of going to, normal pediatrician, psychiatrist, psychologist. And then finally, a developmental pediatrician said that yes, there are signs of autism in the child, and it would be better to start as soon as possible. But because my child was quite high functioning otherwise, so it was very difficult for us to understand. And till date, the exact label is not on him, which is okay. But I have been working without a label for all these years now. So it's been close to a journey of 5.5 years now.
Previously, while we were having a discussion, you mentioned the feelings that come when you first hear about the news is anger or depression.
Yeah. So basically, I mean, if we look at human emotions, they are universal. But whatever kind of problem we may have, there will be either anger or denial or guilt, but ultimately acceptance comes. So once you get to know that there is neurodivergence, sometimes you feel like, "Oh, can't I just shake it and can't I just remove it and can't I just make everything be okay?" But that doesn't happen. So as I said, by mother, I mean the primary caregiver. So the primary caregiver's mental health is very important and she has to first accept it that, okay, these are the things and then show up.
So, how was the process and how did you take it into your stride?
Basically, there was a lot of confusion because each child is special, they have their own needs, and there are some developmental milestones. So, in our case, the developmental milestones were very much there. So, that added to the pressure on the person who was assessing also to understand that what was the cause. So, like I said, I started my journey without any label. So I thought that, okay, whatever I am seeing, whatever I can do the best, I'll do that. And I took care of my mental health also. And then I took care of the child. So this is how the journey has been. And I went to many institutes in multiple cities. And finally, there was understanding that there is something on the autism spectrum disorder, but that's a very wide range. So label as such, till date, I do not have. But yes, you can say he is neurodivergent. Right now, my child has been diagnosed as attention deficit. So a lot of work went behind the scenes to come till this. Because if the journey has started from an almost non-verbal child to a child who spoke just few words, then to get grammar in that language and to reduce the hyperactivity in the child, to finally work towards the integration in a normal school environment for the child. Everything takes a lot of effort. So the result is there, but the back end work is is just too much.
Okay. So, in the whole process, have you as a woman, as a mother, undergone any change?
Yeah, I have. Motherhood changes all women. I am sure everyone will agree there. But when you are mother to a neurodivergent child, it's very different because, first of all, we do not know what that is. We were lucky that God made us neurotypical and we had a normal childhood with normal issues and problems and solutions and everything. But when you have a neurodivergent child to take care of, first of all, you have to take care of your own mental health. This is what I would like to say. A mother's stress or anger is absorbed by the child like a sponge. So when the mother is happy, when the mother is calm, when the mother is able to process her own emotions, which are also a lot to process, because there's so much responsibility. You realize for the first time that you are not responsible just for yourself. You're responsible for a very young, innocent child who just looks up to you for everything. So at that time, to understand and process everything, it can get overwhelming. So yeah, it has changed me. I think I've become much more calmer. My old friends will be able to tell this better than me, how much I have changed, but definitely I have changed a lot. For the better, I would like to say.
Okay. Can you tell something about your day-to-day routine or how it has been modified?
So see, in neurodivergence, sometimes there are routines and fixations. So, for example, there is a change in routine. The child may not be able to adapt to it as much as a neurotypical child would be able to do. So, for example, school bus. So, some children are okay going in it, even if they are neurodivergent, some are not. So, my routine is, first of all, to get him ready for school, then take him, drop him, and then pick him, and maybe then go for any behavioral remedy classes or any kind of therapy, or then, to get him back and take care of him, play with him, and just hear about the day now. Now he is verbal, he expresses himself very well. So to just understand what he's going through. And of course, there are a lot of meetings with teachers also, they keep calling. So I have to be available during that time. So that's my routine. Later on, now I have, by the grace of God, started working. And since a year and two, I've been doing some legal advice. Yeah, and I also like to read books, and I'm trying to learn Indian classical music just to, have some understanding of my own self, because I lost myself for the first 3 years of this entire journey. I lost myself completely. I was so overwhelmed, and there is so much to take care of, and you have your own personal life, family life, and then to take care of the child. So now books are my best friends.
That's really great. I understand the mother always takes the precedent, but how did you show up for yourself when you said you got lost?
I took the help of the Holy Gita, Bhagavad Gita, and that helped me because I understood that my sense of urgency will not help the child. I may think that, okay, I'm doing this should be the result, this should be the outcome, and this is how the child should behave. But that's not how it goes. So to understand all that, first of all, I read that, and then I started reading all kind of books, the ones that I like, the popular ones, and I founded up a book club, founded up a cultural club in my city. I had been reading a lot, and then a family member said that I should give this knowledge to the world also and encourage people to read books. So I have made a channel on Instagram, and there I review my books. So it gives me some thing to do also, as well as have a meaningful chapter in my life. So I try to now make women come together, read few titles. Sometimes we read 2 or 3 titles in a month, and then we come and discuss. So when you hear the other person, it's always better because then you understand book. I mean, it's a lonely and a personal journey between the author and the reader. But when people come together and discuss the books, then something magical happens. There are 2 books. One is All Cats Are on the Autism Spectrum. So it has photos, very cute photos of cats. And then through that book, they try to explain that how a child who has autism can be different from others, but that doesn't mean that there is something wrong with the child. So that, and the other book is The Out of Sync Child Has Fun. So it has a lot of theory as well as practical exercises which parents and grandparents and caregivers, the mother and the child, they all can do. So those are the two books that I would like to recommend to anyone who's starting this journey. And I would also like to say that this is not a destination. This is a trip on which you and your child are together. So just go with the flow. This is something which I have learned. There is no end result or goal that you are going to achieve. You're just going to try and make the child adapt to the society in which the child is in. We cannot change the society, but we can change the way the child responds to, rejections or whatever comes the child's way. So we have to be there for the child and make the child understand and adapt. So whatever other routines or fixation of the child, we work according to that and try to make the child understand to be a law-abiding citizen in the society ultimately.
So, do you think the current society and the workforce in India is actually ready for neurodivergent kids?
See, I'll break this question into two parts. As far as the workforce bit is concerned, I see that a lot of neurodivergent children have grown up to be very successful entrepreneurs themselves. So, sky is the limit, and it depends on the interest of the child, like all children. So, whether they turn up into a business or even creative, you will find that the neurodivergent children end up becoming very good painters and are into creative fields, including filmmaking and whatnot. But yeah, workforce, definitely there should be more done, and corporate social responsibility is there, but still, maybe more awareness can be created in society. So I'll come to the second part. Now, definitely in society, I feel that education is the key, and through education awareness comes, and through education, once people understand that neurodivergence is just something which the child was born with, he's not behaving in a particular manner because he's not being brought up well, it's just something that's a part of him. He may have problem understanding the sensory overload, processing it. He may have a problem in expressing, but it doesn't mean that the child is not understanding things. So often they may have some speech delays, language delays, and we even have non-verbal individuals who end up becoming, huge scientists and whatnot. So yes, society, once that education will come, awareness will come, I'm sure even society will improve. But yes, right now I do see that lack of awareness is very much there. I mean, that's been my experience at least.
Okay. Does it ache to see a child being treated differently by the neurotypical kids?
See, children are very innocent, and children, they are there for him and they are pally with him. And now, when he is 7 plus, in fact, I've been very blessed that very kind parents and few children are also there who actually understand him and are even able to offer him some help. So that is there. But yeah, for as far as parents are concerned, things can be definitely better. And it does ache me, like if he's not invited to say a social gathering or a birthday party. So that really hurts me. But I have also understood that it's part of life, and that's how it goes on. But I'm trying at my level at least, I'm trying to tell people that do not judge the child, and how the behavior may have been 2 3 years ago. There is change, there is modification, there is scope for improvement, yes, but there are things which are now, he's a much settled child now, so things are improving.
Okay. Right. One message that you would like to give to women with neurodivergent kids?
That's a very good question. If I look at my entire journey, first of all, I would like to say that it's not as if you will do something and something will happen. You are dealing with a innocent human, a child, and you should not have a sense of urgency and try to educate yourself. If you are not able to read books, then try meeting mothers who have gone through that journey. Try talking to the psychologist of the child. Try understanding, and you can even watch good podcasts. Like you are doing such a phenomenal work right now, Sony. You are trying to educate people right now. So, to watch these kind of shows and podcasts, if you are not able to read books, otherwise, I think it's always the best approach is to read a good book and to understand it first of all, and then do not put your pressure or tension or stress on the child, and let the child develop at the pace at which the child is comfortable, because urgency will not work. This is what I have learned. So my number one message would be this: do not pressurize the child. The mother should not feel that she is alone, and there is a community. She just has to tap to that community, and may she reach that community and talk to like-minded individuals, because this is something that a lot of us go through. So do not consider yourself to be the only one, and do not give in to any victim mentality. That don't have this why me attitude. Accept and learn to move on would be my say.
Nice. And one message to women with neurotypical kids.
I would just say that if your child is comfortable and it's a safe environment, then let the child play with the neurodivergent classmate or neighbor. They are very innocent and they understand and adapt. I mean, I'm sure children, everyone will agree, are much more flexible and understanding than we adults are. So they find a way to, play and mingle. So let them play, would be my message. Just be little kind.
Okay. So you showed up for your kid, you made a choice, then you showed up for yourself. Now, who showed up for you?
I think God showed up for me. Seriously, I am not joking. I see it in all seriousness. It's just faith, and then the faith in God, and then the understanding and the faith in one's own self. Because I have to show up for myself, only then I can show up for others. So, yes, I am. I have a support system. It's not as if I'm doing everything alone. But ultimately, whatever therapy the child has to go, whatever things I have to do at home, whatever changes we desire, whatever discussions I have with the teachers of the school or with the psychologists and everything, is something that I take care of. So you can say I'm the primary caregiver and I show up.
Anu, I've seen for neurodivergent kids, especially those in the autism spectrum, they do not emote much like neurotypical kids. So the mother in you, does it sometimes crave for that kind of expression of love and care? And how do you deal with that?
Okay. So, first of all, I would like to say that after my entire journey, God has been very kind and I have seen changes and a lot of emotions from my child. So now my child is different, but I do see children who are not able to emote. So, yes, it is very difficult for those mothers and it's not easy because the social behavior is not adequate. It's not as if only emotions are there, the expression of the emotions also has to be adequate. So sometimes you see children who come with force and hit their mother with their head, like head butting, or they may swirl a lot, or they may, shake their hands a lot, or may stim a lot. Like they'll take out some voice from their mouth, which kind of soothes them. So all that when someone who is neurotypical sees, the kind of words, because of lack of awareness that is used for that innocent child and the mother, are not something which we desire. So yes, it is very much an issue, and ultimately it is a social communication disorder only, where the emotions are very much inside, but the expression of it may not be adequate. So it can reflect sometimes in children hitting other children, or nudging them or trying to communicate with them, but the neurotypical child may not understand that this is the behavior is coming from this lack of understanding in society, that neurotypical child is not able to express only. So yes, I agree with you, it does hurt when such things.
What is one thing that you did which you feel made the most impact?
See, I am not saying this as someone who wants to preach or show that I am the best or anything like that. but definitely my own calmness in dealing with the child is the number one thing that I feel has helped my child. So if he is shouting, I am not going to shout. I am, just going to hush my voice even so low that he is not able to hear. So when that happens, the normal reaction is if someone is shouting, you also shout. But to understand that, and also, metacognition. I keep thinking of what I am thinking. I have become that individual when I am with my child. Whatever he does, I pause, I go inside, and then I respond. So the one thing would be to not react, but to respond. Do not give any physical reaction. Think, take help from professionals, understand how your behavior should be with the child, and then respond in a calm voice, manner, and use appropriate language. That is very important. That is something that I think all mothers must learn. How you have to talk to the child if the child is having a meltdown or is just not able to express. So, what are the soothing words that the mother can say, or the primary caregiver, or any family member? So, that's the one thing that I would like to say.
You also took up B.Ed just to understand how you can help your child.
Yes, that's correct. So, I'm a master's in law, and I briefly taught in a law college. Then I joined the public sector. But still, I did B.Ed, a proper 2 years course from a reputed national university, only to understand my child. And it has helped me tremendously. So I understood a lot of concepts, understood from B.Ed the benefits of understanding and the harms of rote learning. So class environment, school environment, individual differences, all those concepts, and even basic psychology I have learned through B.Ed and also through interest in my books which I choose to read. So yes, I have done B.Ed only for my child.
Tanu, you did your B.Ed. Now
Yeah.
I can say you're a teacher. So, what are the special skills or abilities that you could identify in your son?
So from a very early stage, I saw that his brain was working towards logic and understanding, everything through concepts. So you just can't randomly tell him something. You have to tell the logic behind it. And as far as maths is concerned, when he was in nursery, he could tell tables of so many numbers, which even I had to, I had forgotten, but he knew. And then I started exploring maths with him. So he ended up understanding, like concepts like Fibonacci series and square roots, and also multiples, fractions, division, multiplication, something which kindergarten and class one students are not taught. He could understand it. For example, one day he just told me randomly that, how is electricity flowing in the wire above? And I was like, okay, tell me. And then he could tell me, like, so he understood conduction. So then our favorite activity used to be to go to the board outside the chemistry lab and to read what all was put up. So I think he was the only student of that age who was interested in chemistry lab board. And I told him about periodic table, and he could, I'm not saying like he is a genius or something like that, but he could grasp the concept. So even that at this tender age is a pleasure. So now the problem that this creates is that in class the children are, maybe uh, at their level, and now this child in maths is way ahead of them. So he would be distracted in the child. So supposing like if you start teaching me civics right now, I may know it, so I may get distracted. So that much benefit of doubt we have to give to our neurodivergent children as well. So there are certain skills in them which we have to explore as parents and then help them build it. So, like for example, logical reasoning and Sudoku, my child is able to do like basic levels. He is able to do. So that's something that we indulge in and have a nice mother-child bond over that.
That's nice. Now, coming from school, now vacations are going on. And
Yeah.
for neurodivergent children, routine is a must. So, how
Yes.
do you manage to go out for vacations?
Yeah. So that's a very interesting question, and I think it will be very relevant for mothers, especially. So first of all, you have to keep telling the child 2 or 3 days in advance at least that okay, this is what is going to happen. this is the time we will be baking, this is how we are going, either by air or train or car or whatever. And then you have to take care to keep the food that he eats with you. It's not possible to get it cooked during vacation also, but at least to ease the anxiety or any kind of tension for travel, at least on day one, whatever maximum you can do, you should do. So you can take colors with you, stickers with you. Stickers really help a child, to take out the sticker and put it in any book. So all those kind of activities and food preparation should be there, and also to tell the child and make him also pack the suitcase. So these are the kind of things that calms them down. So vacation is not easy. It will be little difficult, but it can happen. Ultimately, it can happen. So, for example, in say in the air, the food will be according to the airlines, but the child is not going to eat it. So you have to take care of that. So that's the difference. Yeah.
Okay.
And even clothes, I would like to discuss here, Sony, that clothes also can be an issue. Whether the child will wear a collared t-shirt or not, that also can be an, something which neurotypical children would never ever, have trouble with. But with our neurodivergent children, anything can create an issue. So clothes also have to be appropriate according to the weather wherever you are traveling. So
What
do
about
not try
toys?
to experiment last minute with something just because of a trend or whatever. Comfort should be the priority.
What about toys for the kids?
Yeah, so there are a lot of sensory toys that come, and if the child is going through occupational therapy, then they are the best people to tell you. Otherwise, say puzzles are there and fidget toys are there. Then, as I said, Sudoku. So Sudoku also comes in a magnetic tile form, and sometimes they just like to take their favorite toy with them, like a plushie, so that they can hug the plushie, And sometimes a weighted toy also helps. So if the child is having a meltdown, then a weighted blanket on the child or a favorite toy can help. So especially during vacations, the mother can explore what she should carry with her.
So these are very practical things which people don't talk about. And, when someone discusses, I think it really helps. Thank you so much, Tanu, for joining us and sharing your insights. And it will definitely help someone to know that they are not alone. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for inviting me, Soni.